actually, Mercury is the intellect. A lot of people think it's the mind. The moon is the mind. Mercury is the intellect. And then this is Mercury exalted in the sign of Virgo. Now it is the zodiac of Sagittarius, but astrologically it's Mercury exalted in Virgo. So we'll be deliberating the findings today from Aleister Crowley's The Tarot, illustrated by Lady Frida Harris. And that's not deliberating the findings, it's imposing the guidance. Okay, so the sun, the moon. Excuse me if this is hard to read. We'll be working on the camera angles at a time. Other than now, let's move on. So I've been hearing that song again. I sang it on one of the weeklies. Is this love or is this just a curse? Okay, so pre-shadow, when we entered into this phase, we were being judged on, or we were receiving insight or being judged on, under judgment really, which is more of a review. Being judged is more of a penalty. So doesn't always mean you get penalized, but there you go. So the things that were going bump in the night, the dark journeys of the soul, the people who were getting ready to take their God duties and obligations, that's what we were doing pre-shadow. So between 17th July and about the 5th of August, we were seeing who had reached spiritual perfection. Because this is what it is. And that would have been a value of virtue. Who was ready to receive their wings. Opposing this would have been who had become enlightened because they had faced their karma. So that would have been the dark night of the soul. Who had completed the cycle. So were you able to access the entire universe, or were you able to only access the world? That's the first module of the mystery school, by the way. Letter, number equals color equals sound. So the planes of existence and the platonic solids, the forms that the material realms take on. So that's what we were doing pre-shadow. Post-shadow, things are going to open up. There are going to be people, souls that are selected to awaken. There are going to be souls that are also going to be marked. The mark of Cain, mainly, because they're standing for something probably not advantageous for them. If you stand for the wrong thing, or if you stand for nothing, or fall for everything. Okay, well, there are some boundaries here. And it would have been where we were keeping secrets. So in our 4th house, the privacy, secrecy. And so Mercury is going in Leo. Okay, so yeah, that's Scorpio. Okay, so those who were keeping secrets about who they were, what they were about, the things they were involved in. Also, sometimes we have access to cabals or practices or knowledge that's harmful to others. Does that make sense? Perhaps daddy might be a con artist, or mama might be on OnlyFans. Not that that's bad. It just might not be in alignment with the polite society. So again, dividing the wheat from the chaff, people need to fall where they fall. Things have been a secret in the age of Pisces, but now we're moving to the age of Aquarius. A lot's going to come out in the open, and for one thing, especially while we're in Leo season, hidden enemies are not going to be hidden for very long, period. People like to think different things, and the enemies, I was going to think they have a ace up their sleeve or a trick or a loophole or whatever, what have you. It's by design. It's how the system works. You get to think that you're getting away with things because that adds to your penalty, your punishment, period. That's just how the universe works, okay? That's just how things go sometimes, all right? So, We are coming into the place where we take our ranking spiritually. And I'll be right back. So it's not this dramatic, the light or the dark, but are we friends of the spirit? Or are we friends of the world? So the world is the artificial matrix, and then the spirit is the universal matrix. So if you are an agent of the matrix, you do eventually get assigned to the infernal kingdom. But it might not be the lower level of hell. It might not be the abyss. It might just be purgatory, where you're going to need to eventually have a doctrine of the soul yourself. You're going to need to face the depths of your soul, confront your subconscious. And it's part of the design as well. It's part of how you get back to the universal matrix. Now, there are some people out there that are expertly maintaining some kind of cabal or a stronghold of darkness or principality of evil or something of that nature. And these people tend to work in collective. So individually, what it would look like would be timeline policing or respectability politicking. Does that make sense? So othering, making bad, making wrong. It's the attacking the chosen child, the ones that look meek, weak, loser, lame because they're too loving, caring, kind of naive, Pollyanna, innocent, whatever, what have you. Okay. So there's just aspects of society that are coming out. There's also the beginning of global secrets starting to emerge. It's not really going to happen until later on in the year, like Libra new moon onwards. But individual in communities, like it's going to start pretty soon. Like the church might fall, not the church as a whole, but certain spiritual communities across the surface of the planet. So first is going to be where people have strongholds in spiritual organizations, then where people have strongholds in smaller conglomerations, and then where people have strongholds in global organizations like multi-conglomerates or ministries of government. That's towards September. That's towards, well, it's actually September, October, Libra new moon, which is really Aries full moon. The power is going to start falling around the Aries full moon. So right now, the little thoughts, the little ideas, the little insight, the little instincts, the little intuition, the little intellect, the little identity alive in us, it's going to start sparkling. It's going to start kicking off. Our own little Jerry Springer, it's going to start going off. Our little Jerry Springer black girl is going to start popping up at the mouth. And we all have an inner dialogue, and there's a part of us that can get kind of crunk. That's going to happen. Because when we look out into the future, we're ready to fight. Maybe until recently we were pacified, but it took a whole bunch of, overwhelmed, burdened, bogged down, carrying a flame, carrying a torch, holding a grudge, whatever, what have you, to get us to this place where now we're ready to defend our position. Now we're ready to fight. Okay. For a while, it wasn't going to happen like that. And I'm just hearing Psalms. So read Psalms. I'm seeing the number 9, the number 54. I like Psalms 4 as well. Psalm 7, Psalm 71, 72, 70, Psalms 94, 54. Those are great. Psalms 109. Judges, Kings, Revelations, Acts, Proverbs as well. Something about Corinthians. I don't know much about that right now. It's vast. The differentialities. It's not very long, Corinthians, but the differentialities are widely varying. So, but I'm here. I heard Acts, Judges, Proverbs, Psalms. So something biblical. Now, during the retrograde, a cycle is going to happen. And it kicks off with certain people that were imbued with power upon birth of royal lineage origin or some kind of divine birthright or issue are going to start to move into place foundation because formation, because there's things that are seen that have been right in front of our eyes, but they were well obscured, were hidden because the system structure foundation was illusionary in its nature, the matrix. So the iron curtain or the curtain itself falls down and the wizard behind turns out to be a little man. So a lot of us are going to have an awakening. We're just going to start to see things as they are, not as they're purported to be. Yeah, we're following information. Now we're ready to take action, and it's going to happen as a global society. But the Mercury is like a very solitary experience unless it conjuncts the sun. So the situation with that, it really is just that so there will be a day or two where it's conjuncting the sun. But it's like the Buddha. Mercury is like the Buddha. So it's the mind of humanity, and it's the mind that performs righteous acts. So I always sing that song, I can see it all now. I can see it all now. I can see it. There's a chorus to that song, and it's been going off this whole time. It's just like a gospel, clap your hands. And it's just like a lot of, ooh, that kind of stuff. Um, Give me just a second, I'll be back. There's gonna be loss here. So it doesn't always mean like loss, going without or losing things, but it does mean stripping of viewpoints, having to change thinking, having to arise to an occasion, because if not, there's gonna be a little bit of chaos. And there will be loss of hope, maybe for institutions, or loss of hope, maybe for groups of people or organizations that we belong to. There's a double five here, which means it's either forced change or things get debilitated, deteriorated, maybe even degraded, diluted, depleted. There can be some distortions here with the moon and the double five, but also to those who are not, I mean, that's the thing with behavioral therapy. The unawakened mind, or the mind that doesn't see things clearly, can't accept things as they are. And so there's oftentimes distortions. But when the mind is kind of on the healthier side, where they're willing to confront dichotomies and they're willing to um, mitigate and incorporate polarities, this debilitation or distortion would actually just be the impetus to make changes. And we do have the king and queen of wands. So the queen desires a future to be incorporated, and the king is the one that makes that changes. And also we have the Aries card too. So there could be Aries midheaven, south heaven. It could be Aries north. I mean, yeah, there we go. Aries north node, south node, Aries sun, or Aries moon. You hear what I'm saying? I can see it all now. I can see it all now. I can see it. I can see it. Yeah, okay, so I honestly feel like I can see it all. I could see it. I could see it all now. Wow. I'm honestly feeling like groups of people band together to make change around the world, and it might be the beginning of it. I'm also getting a lot of micro data. I don't want to go into this until we talk about Pluto later, not in this cast either. Um, I do think the beginnings of combat are going to be seeded during this cycle. Certain groups of people might even be targeted or listed or whatever, what have you, because they're going to change it up in a couple of months, maybe even up to 6 months. Like that impetus, that fighting spirit. Okay, Dikane, Raka. No, excuse me. Please, baby girl, we're not doing this. I don't care that she's doing her caterwaul thing. She needs to, but stop dragging the drapes down and cutting the couch up and hacking up on my sweaters. You need to stop, honey. And that's what I'm upset about. Um, so on the other end of this, we're finding a way to stand secure in the self. And in order to do this, we need to let certain things go, remove certain attachments, stop going to certain places, or call in help, which means we need to begin to plant seeds for a future that we can't currently see. Now, we might be dealing with the Capricorn Sun. I was talking about Aries Sun, Aries Moon, so that would also talk about a Cancer or Capricorn rising. Now we're going to be dealing with an Aries rising or a Libra rising. So there's something about the cardinal signs, even though this is happening in a fixed and a mutable sign, the retrograde. There's something about cardinal rising signs where there's an activation going on. So cardinal is the one that gets the energy started. They don't finish the job. They're the forward team, the front man. They get the crowd pumped up, or they get the action started, or they get the eyes on scene, and then they report their findings. They attach their recommendation to the file, and they go back to base, and then another team goes out and actually does the operation or finishes the campaign. So I'm getting that energy. I'm looking forward, and I have to do the celestial math to get it. It's here because it's been reiterated. So we're getting some strong Leo moon energy that can also be a Taurus rising. Okay, baby girl, we just did this, honey. What's up? I'll be back. I'll be back. So it switched up a little because there was a drive for change, and then the change happened in terms of the change makers, of those in the positions of power, or those who had the resources started implementing something. It might not actually be the plan. I'm not seeing any completions other than a difficult cycle, a backbreaking cycle, a tedious, oppressive cycle. And tyranny came, however. So it's kind of like a rise up, stick up, stand out kind of situation. See something, say something, or learn something, realize something, cause a ruckus, cause a mess. Because we're having it where there are some Aries risings here. It's well hidden. This is more like Capricorn rising. You have Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun, Capricorn midheaven. Capricorn midheaven would mean Aries rising. The end of something happens. We finally begin to make moves that we've been needing to make for a while. Grant me a minute. There's a little bit of championing here. We have the King and Queen of Wands. Now we have the Queen and King of Pentacles here. She's going to be caterwauling in the background. I've done the massage. I've done the petting. I've done the little thing. The heated blanket's out. She doesn't care right now. She just wants to do her thing. I'll be right back. Okay, I had to put her out. She has access to the front of the house. You can still hear a little bit, but the office is here in the back. Okay, so this is interesting because it's like a changing of the guards, but it's also like a closing of the door. Certain truths are no longer going to be hidden. And that's the thing, the driving impetus for whatever rebellion is here. It's not really a global rebellion against the authority yet. That comes during Pluto. It's more of the truth about our spiritual nature as a human society is now open. It's now clear. And a lot of us are just going to move into that space, but some of us are going to be harboring a little bit of anger because we went through trials and tribulations. We went through oppression because of it. And it's not always from the institution. Some of it is going to be that our friends and family ridiculed us because we had access to certain things that nobody else cared about. Some of us were considered witches and we were ridiculed for the wrong reasons. Some of us were ostracized because we were intuitive or because we were off script or because we were non-traditional. That's kind of more of the story here. Does that make sense? So a lot of things that have been hidden in the background are coming to the foreground, and it's who we are, what we're about as a collective society. Humans are a vehicle for spiritual ascension. The universe is a living organism, and we are the aspect of the divine. We are the image of the divine incarnate. And a lot of this has been told to us, but we were never able to understand. It's kind of like we had a false start. We're late bloomers. We're late adopters, but as a spiritual being. And it's everybody. So with that knowledge comes being on the right path, comes answering your calling. Does that make sense? But that's part of what's it's like we've lost time. So there's this hurt, there's this anger, there's this hurt, rage. I was gonna say depression, but rage. Because there's like an awakening and it can't be unseen. We're going to start to see I think a lot of people's third eye is gonna spontaneously activate by September. And here's the rage that I was talking about. Now, hold on, there's some sign calculations here. So we have Capricorn Sun, Capricorn Moon. That'll be an Aries or Libra rising. You know, there's a little bit of Virgo energy here too. Virgo midheaven or Virgo IC, like a south node. And so that's why that song, I can see it all now. I can see it all now. We're going to come to know God in whatever way makes sense. God is the name of the being that animates the universe. So different folks are going to have different relationships with Creator, but ultimately the universe is a living organism. It's alive. We're in a simulation. And if you know God, you know yourself. Master yourself, master everything, master your energy, master yourself, master the universe, master energy, master everything. We have straight Lord Narayan here because our accomplishments were delayed because we were stuck in the artificial matrix or having to go through a dark night of the soul. And since it didn't make sense because a lot of it felt like it was happening to us, we weren't able to let things happen for us. Uh, I'm overwhelmed here. There's something we're going to finally see. Yeah, Sacred Journey. This is by Nadia Anastarzia's Cosmic Activation Card for the Soul. Darkness need not be feared, but simply understood. Darkness is a misunderstood energy which causes so much emotional distress and disharmony around the world that it is something that is separate from God, as it is seen as something that is separate from God. Most often it is seen as something that needs to be avoided and battled. Darkness too serves its purpose. Through darkness, we come to see the light that is in us. We expand our conscious understanding through first walking in the shadows of our soul. The more you ignore, push away, or avoid darkness, the more it is attracted into your space. It is only through love and understanding of true nature, of the true nature of darkness, that is embracing its role and having gratitude for the lessons that it teaches us, that we are able to transcend its karmic will. Darkness is here to help us find our way back into the heart. We are all one, good, evil, dark, light, and the many other labels mankind has used to separate this energy that is one. Do not fear the shadows within or outside you, but simply observe the dance of life that is occurring all around you. See the lessons that unfold from the dark periods in your life, understand their meaning and their purpose. When you transcend this illusion of separateness and judgment of all that is seen as dark, you transcend the illusion of suffering. The more you walk through this journey with understanding and clarity, the more at peace you are within the world. You are then ready to enter realms of higher consciousness and increased light. I am triumphant in knowing that even darkness serves its purpose in the fruition of the soul. There is wisdom in knowing that even darkness serves its purpose in the growth of the soul. Nadia Anastarzius. The associated chakra is the solar plexus. Yeah, I mean, I'm calling it. I'm just discombobulated here. This energy is hitting me hard. Come to life. 43 is one of those leaving the dark numbers. It's leaving behind the lower world for the higher world. So what I like about this card is that it has a little bit of color in it, but it's about coming out of the matrix into the all that is. You are the most sacred of all sacred artworks. You are bringing yourself to life now, and this is how it must be. Of course, something being essential does not mean it is always easy. You must support yourself and have courage during the process. Your monkey mind is not to run the show. It might have a lot to say, and at times it seems very convincing, but it's not the one in charge. Your mind can inspire you with ideas, however, it is the real you that speaks through your rebellious sacred heart and is living your life, not the monkey mind. The mind is not much more than a swirling cacophony of habitual reactions. Beneath habitual thoughts, there is a deep, sensual, creative, and energetic awakening happening to you. It is far beyond what the mind is now capable of controlling. Others might not like it because it shakes things up. Coming to life tends to do that. However, it is happening now, and the only real choice you have to make is how you deal with it. Coming to life means feeling it. It might bring joy, but it could also bring equally sadness, rage, or fear. It might bring all of these and then some. Feelings might come and go quite swiftly when allowed to flow. You might need to paint, to write, to enact rituals, sing, dance your feelings to help the energy flow. Do not hold back. Create the space for yourself to do it. In this process, you are uncovering the artistry of the universal creator. You are honoring the sacredness of your life by exploring it without restraint. That includes the flow of your feelings. You do not have to do anything with them other than express them, even to yourself. You may want to analyze or you may not. It does not matter. What matters is that you are getting in touch with feeling. Learning how to access your feelings allows you to learn how to access your intuition, creative inspiration, and genuine internal guidance. These aspects flow from the same place and are often couched within your feelings in the form of emotions as well as physical sensations. Yeah, the body keeps a score too, by the way. I'm hearing that from a lot of people. A lot of old people from former students, former clients, former friends, even former roommates are calling me, and they're all saying the same thing. Boy, my body has been holding on to these sensations, instincts that I was ignoring, and now I'm noticing them. And as I go into this next phase, they're very, very vocal. So we're being warned about certain things. And isn't that what I said at the beginning of the video, that there's things in the body, our body has its own intuition, and it's called instinct, okay? So the collective subconscious is awakening. It doesn't mean that the unconscious won't always be there, but aspects of the subconscious that were hidden until now are coming to the foreground. And we're all preparing to leave darkness in some kind of way, to break out, break free in some kind of way. And we're going to go through our own judgment because we're just having awakenings, shocking awakenings. Former things that were repressed, suppressed, oppressed, depressed within us, it's breaking out, breaking free kind of rapidly, because we're safe and secure in the self. We've built ourselves up from the inside out, or we've made enough investments into the self to where we're actually able to move on, move forward no matter what. So our vision was delayed. Our vision was delayed. Excuse me if you can hear the mic. Because there were certain things that needed to expand, and it was our hobbies, the places where we go to play, maybe even some self-development, exploration, self-enrichment. We might have just needed to get around a certain type of people. These would have been people that we even were affectionate towards, whether it be romantically, filial, or congenial. There was also a prickly cycle. We needed to get to a part in the cycle where it was more painful to stay the same than it was to change, because we were hosting darkness and light, and they were dichotomies, meaning the way we were trying to reconcile them was unnatural, versus a polarity, which is a naturally occurring opposition that can be integrated. There was a hatchet we needed to bury with ourselves because of improperly placed boundaries and standards. A lot of things weren't a win-win situation, so we needed to leave them be. We were trying to participate with them. And actually, we needed to stop giving our energy. That was part of the constriction. We were second guessing ourselves, so it didn't matter what we were being given external. It didn't matter what other people were giving us. We needed to set ourselves up right before we can engage with people. We were always going to be displeased with others if we weren't happy with ourselves or happy within ourselves. So now we know how to deal with the devil. I hate to say it that way, but we know how to deal with darkness when it comes. We know how to make it through the dark if it shows up. If things become difficult, since we trust ourselves, we know we can make it. That's the thing. Worry is just stealing from the future. Regret is just looking to the past to see if you got everything off that you could. What it robs you of is the present. So now when we found our self-worth and value, we learned how to negotiate, navigate with things, even if they were particularly unpleasant or non-ideal. And this is what brought us out of the darkness, that aha, that we could trust us. Wherever we went, we were going to be. So we became our ally. We became our advocate. It didn't matter what was going on externally. We kept externalizing our locus of control, looking for something outside of us to feed what was alive inside of us. It was a misnomer, a fallacy. And something about us is discovering that. We've been isolated enough to find our own light, our own divinity, and we chose ourselves, and we continue to choose ourselves now. So that was the winning mechanism. That was the right type of shift. Once we choose ourselves and realize that we have what we need to get to where we want to go, the believing in ourselves was the mechanism that we needed for the world to open back up to us, because we were in some kind of cordoned off environment, but we kind of closed ourselves off somewhere. We restrained ourselves. We repressed ourselves, mostly, not entirely, but mostly we repressed ourselves. Now, once we make peace with the devil, doesn't mean get in bed with the devil, but once we make peace with the devil, whether it's our shadow, whether it's our toxicity, whether it's negative history, whether it's toxic family systems of origin, once we learn that that darkness had a purpose, we can stand fully in the light. The darkness reminds us that we need to return to something with love and to heal from something. That's what the darkness was teaching us. And once we do that, we'll be back on the path fully, because we were being guided to deal with that aspect of ourselves. And that's also why we were delayed and not moving forward very rapidly. We were quarantined in some kind of way. Life was not moving forward. And this is what Mercury had to say. In order for the expansion to happen, in order for us to get divine clearance, we needed to be on our spirit, karma, life path, destiny, which meant answering our calling, which required us so much more than what it took to answer our calling. If we were going to be answering our calling, it meant that we could listen to our intuition. If we were listening to our intuition, it means we had combated our feelings. If we had combated our feelings, it meant we become okay with our ruminating thoughts. If we became okay with our ruminating thoughts, it meant we had found a way to be alone with the self. Does that make sense? So in order to get to our spirit, karma, life path, destiny, we have to do all these other things. Does that make sense? It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve you. Thank you for allowing me the privilege to do so. Take good care. See you in the next one. Goodbye. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Ciao.